It started with a van and a wink. One quiet Sunday in a suburb called Brookhaven Lanes, 3 men in compliance unit vests grabbed my wife off our porch swing, shoved her into an unmarked black van, and sped away. And the last thing she did before the door slammed was look straight at me and wink, calm, deliberate, like she was telling me, "Don't panic. Watch. My name's Ryan Keller. I'm not a fighter. I'm the guy people overlook, talk over, and forget. I got good at being invisible because growing up, getting noticed usually came with consequences. I learned to keep my head down, keep my hands busy, and let louder people take up all the air in the room. And our HOA president loved her clipboard. Veronica Pike ran the neighborhood like a tiny kingdom. She fined people for trash cans, for paint shades, for visual clutter. Most of us complied because it was easier. My wife Jenna didn't. Jenna smiled politely, nodded, and kept doing what she wanted. She'd tell people she used to do international project work, boring enough that nobody asked follow-ups. But she could fix anything, stay calm in any argument, and somehow, Veronica hated her on sight. That Sunday morning, Jenna was sipping lemon tea, staring down the street like she was waiting for something. I was inside watching a squirrel rob our bird feeder like it had a plan. Then tires screamed. The black van stopped hard. 3 men jumped out like they'd rehearsed it. One shouted, "HOA compliance enforcement," and my brain tried to laugh it off. Then one of them grabbed Jenna's arm. Her mug shattered. I stood up, and my body did that old useless thing, freeze. Jenna didn't scream. She didn't fight. She didn't even look surprised. As they dragged her across the lawn, she turned her head, found my eyes, and gave me that wink. Not cute, not flirty, a signal. Then the van door slammed, and she was gone, and I was left staring at broken ceramic and spilled tea like the world had tilted and never leveled back out. I called 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher stayed calm until I said HOA. Then her voice went careful. "Sir, we've had reports of people impersonating officials. Stay inside. Do not approach anyone. Officers are on the way." Impersonating. Great. My wife was kidnapped by costume criminals. I tried calling Jenna. Voicemail. I texted. Nothing. And then a tiny icon blinked on our smart home hub. I tapped it. Cypress protocol active. A section of our office bookshelf slid aside, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a steel case, a burner phone, and an envelope with my name in Jenna's handwriting. The note was short and brutal. "Ryan, if you're reading this, I've been taken. Don't panic. This was anticipated. My past isn't what I told you. I'm federal intelligence, reactivated, undercover. Brookhaven Lanes is a front. Veronica Pike is involved in something bigger than fines. Trust no one fully. Follow the burner phone. Stay alive." I sat down on the floor like my legs quit. My wife was a spy. My HOA was a cover. And I was the quiet guy who couldn't even yell when she was taken. The laptop in the case booted and opened a secure portal labeled Operation Hushguard. It showed our neighborhood mapped like a target, with HOA accounts flowing into shell vendors and security upgrades. Veronica's file wasn't about lawns at all. It was about money movement and control. The burner phone rang once. A crisp voice said, "Mr. Keller. Agent Sloan. Jenna's beacon is active. She's contained, not harmed. Extraction is being mobilized. Do not engage with the HOA." Right on cue, Veronica Pike stood on my lawn in a lavender blouse, smiling through my window like she was dropping off cookies. 2 men stood behind her. "Mr. Keller," she called sweetly, "we need to discuss your wife's repeated violations." I forced a confused wave and watched her eyes scan my face like she was measuring how much I knew. She nodded and walked away. That wasn't small talk. That was a threat. Minutes later, an encrypted text buzzed. "Need your eyes. Neighbor signal. Pattern 3B. I crept to the back window. 2 houses down. Our neighbor Elise Moreno was watering roses in a repeating sequence, pausing at certain bushes like she was tapping a code. My stomach flipped. Jenna had taught me little pattern games on our walks. I thought it was a quirky hobby. Elise looked up. I gave the smallest prearranged wave. Another message. Back door. Now. Elise pulled me inside fast. Her living room looked normal until you noticed the monitors, camera feeds from around Brookhaven, radios, a map with notes. She exhaled. "I'm with Jenna's support unit. Code name Juniper." She didn't waste time. "Jenna is being held under the community center. The extraction team needs the external security grid disabled. The uplink is in the maintenance shed behind the center. You can get close because nobody watches you. I almost argued, but she was right. Nobody ever watched me. Elise pressed a tiny USB device into my hand. Plug it in. Wait for green. Leave clean. Confirm. The burner phone vibrated. Jenna, need this done. Now. I typed back. Too honest. Why didn't you tell me? Her reply came instantly. Because you would have tried to protect me. Focus. That hurt because it was true. So I focused. Late afternoon, the guards drifted away from the shed. I crossed lawns under hedges, hands shaking. The padlock was basic. Jenna had taught me lock-picking as a party trick. Click. Inside, under a fake mower casing, the uplink panel waited. I plugged in the USB. Footsteps scuffed outside. I flattened behind stacked bags, barely breathing. The footsteps moved on. A green light blinked. I yanked the device, relocked the door, and ran home like my life finally mattered. I sent the confirmation ping. The burner phone buzzed. Grid down. Good. Stay sharp. Something in me shifted. All that quiet, all that being overlooked, it didn't feel like weakness anymore. It felt like camouflage. That night was the HOA budget meeting at the community center. Elise said my job was simple. Show up, look harmless, then ask the one question that would make Veronica lose control. 10 minutes before breach, I'd call out an inflated security infrastructure, line item, and mention basement work. Then another asset would trigger a brief power and comm blackout to cover the extraction team. Walking into the meeting felt like stepping into a room where everyone smiled with their teeth. Veronica stood at the door greeting residents like a hostess. When she saw me, her smile sharpened. "Mr. Keller," she purred, handing me a thick agenda. I smiled back, just making sure my dues aren't funding anything unusual. Her eyes narrowed a fraction. The meeting dragged through nonsense. My phone vibrated once. 10 minutes. I stood. Veronica tilted her head. "Yes, Mr. Keller?" I said, steady. "I'm looking at the proposed budget. There's $18,000 for advanced security infrastructure. That's a lot. What exactly is being installed, and why does it reference basement access?" For a split second, her mask slipped. Then she smoothed it out. "Standard upgrades," she said. "Community safety." 2 minutes later, my phone vibrated again. The lights flickered. Screens went black. The PA died with a buzz. People gasped. In my earpiece, Elise's voice cut in. Secondary glitch. "Stand by. Trust no one fully," Jenna had warned. Veronica stood quickly. "This meeting is adjourned due to technical difficulties," she announced, moving toward a side exit. If she left, everything could collapse. I stepped into her path. "Leaving so soon?" I asked. "I still have questions." She leaned in, voice low. "You're obstructing procedure." I leaned in too, and the words came out before I could second-guess them. "And you're laundering money through shell vendors. I've seen your real file." Her eyes flashed, not confusion, recognition. She snapped her fingers. 2 men, seated like harmless note-takers, stood and pulled pistols from inside their jackets. The room screamed. My blood went cold. Then a thunderous bang erupted from below the stage. A trap door burst open and Jenna shot upward, dirt-streaked and furious, a stun baton crackling in her hand. 2 agents surged in. The gunmen hesitated 1 fatal second and were taken down. Veronica lunged at Jenna with a small taser. Jenna moved faster, block, twist, disarm, then a leg sweep that sent Veronica crashing to the floor. Within minutes, agents flooded the building. The public story became fraud and illegal contracting. The real story stayed buried. Jenna reached me at last. I saw for the first time all week. "You did good," she whispered. And I realized I was shaking, not from fear, but from the aftershock of finally standing up. Later, we sat on our porch swing under a sky that looked too calm. Jenna's voice was quiet. "I should have told you sooner." The secrecy felt necessary. But it wasn't fair. I stared at the street where I'd frozen. "I'm angry," I admitted. "Not because you're capable. Because you didn't trust me to choose." She nodded. "I didn't want you dragged in." I let out a bitter laugh. "Turns out I can handle more than you thought." A week later, a polished man named Grant Mercer arrived claiming he was regional oversight, here to restore confidence. Elise showed me intercepted messages with words like cleanup and containment. He was the next layer. We didn't fight him with fists. We fought him by refusing to be small again. Neighbors showed up, asked questions, filed records requests, talked to reporters. Grant left quietly, not defeated, just recalculating. And that's where the story gets messy. We stopped the obvious villain, but the machine behind her didn't vanish. A month later, a moving truck rolled into the empty house 2 doors down. A tall woman stepped out in mirrored sunglasses and a coat too heavy for the weather, scanning the street like she was measuring it. Jenna watched from our kitchen window and said softly, "That's not a coincidence." Then she looked at me and added, "Keep the porch camera running." So here's my question for you, because I want the comment section to be the jury. Did we do the right thing? We exposed corruption and protected our home, but we also became the kind of neighborhood that watches, signals, and keeps secrets. Where's the line between justice and control, between safety and paranoia? If you found out your HOA was abusing power, would you fight back, or would you move away and let someone else deal with it? And if you've ever been underestimated, bullied, dismissed, treated like you didn't matter, tell me what happened and what you wish you'd said. Drop your story in the comments, and be specific. Names changed, sure, but the truth matters. No lectures, no perfect endings, just what you saw and what you learned. Like the video if you believe quiet people aren't weak, they're just waiting. Subscribe if you want more stories that ask the uncomfortable question, when does keeping the peace turn into helping the bully win?